The death of a man reportedly put in a chokehold by another passenger on a New York subway has been deemed a homicide.
We have to warn you, the images you're about to see are disturbing. Witnesses say 30-year-old Jordan Neely was acting erratically on a train Monday when a 24-year-old Marine veteran put him in a chokehold until he passed out. The Marine was questioned by police and released the same day. The district attorney's office says it has put its most senior prosecutors on the case.
Joining us now to talk about this is Greg Donaldson, an associate professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice here in New York. Greg, I take this train. I take this route, and I can completely relate with people who are both fearful of those who seem unhinged, but also, who wants to be executed on a train. The medical examiner has ruled Jordan Neely's death a homicide, and it was the chokehold that killed him. So tell us why the Marine is not in custody, I should say, while the DA's office investigates this.
Well, first of all, a homicide, the definition of a homicide legally is that someone was killed by another person. A homicide is not necessarily a crime. Homicide can be justifiable homicide, which is self-defense. It can be criminally negligent homicide. It can be negligent homicide. There's all levels of it. But the word homicide does not mean that it's a crime. I'm not saying this wasn't a crime, but that explains why the man is not in custody at this time.
All of this is deeply disturbing and has ignited a lot of debate here in New York City, in part because this is a homeless man. It doesn't seem like he has people who are necessarily there supporting him, but also because he was acting erratically. He was screaming at passengers. He had a long history of altercations with the police, including at least one incident that was violent against another woman. Give us some insight about the use of force laws for civilians. This Marine putting this man in a chokehold, what are prosecutors weighing as they're trying to consider charges?
Well, first of all, you have to realize the setting. New York City subway system, or any subway system, particularly in New York, is particularly terrifying to people. Even a slight uptick in crime can cause this now a surge. What they call the police are putting patrol officers in the trains to cover what has been seen as an uptick in crime, because people perceive crime in the subway in a more drastic manner than they do on land for good reasons. And we've, as Errol just said, we've all experienced it. We've seen these things. And so there are ethical issues, there's social issues, there's mental health issues going on here. The ethical issues are that if you do see someone who is acting erratically and possibly threateningly, should you intervene? Is it your responsibility as a citizen to intervene? And so those ethical issues are all playing in here. What the DA is measuring. Now, I'm not an attorney, I'm a reporter, and I write about these issues, and I've lived these issues. What the DA is measuring now is, was the use of force justified? Was the person who applied it in fear of their life, and or in any kind of fear, first of all, and in fear so enhanced that this type of extreme measure was necessary? They have studied the tapes and come to a decision on it.
And Greg, to that point, because you've seen this before as men on the subway, when you see this happen, you have a moment where you say to yourself, do I need to do something here and step in? Just last week, I saw someone verbally assaulting some other folks, and I went through this kind of decision tree of what happens if I step in. Considering the DA will measure the use of force, and that this individual was a Marine, so he knew how to use deadly force, will the DA take that into consideration? Does that change the dynamic at all?
I think that there are those issues. There's a race issue here. We have the Marine was a white man. The person who was killed, Ms. Neely, was a person of color. These are all issues that play into the decisions, whether it should be or not. The question that you raised about the level of participation that an onlooker is ethically demanded to do or should do is a question we all deal with as New Yorkers. And so that's why this is a lightning rod of a case in which it calls up all those issues. What do you do when you see someone else is in trouble? How do you react? What is the extent of that reaction? What is your legal liabilities? And should he have known it seems in light of the George Floyd case that you would know that an extended use of a chokehold is possibly will cause someone's death. And so I think all of these issues are going to be playing out in the press. I think also we should wait a bit until more of the story comes out before we jump to conclusions.
And it is already something that people are really weighing in on. Greg Donaldson, thank you.
Thank you.